B, Mobility Services and Transportation Update, Ms. Conley and Ms. Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hi. Now you can really hear me, right? Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to provide a community engagement and resources mobility services update. In addition to transportation, Barb will be sharing on microtransit. As you all know, mobility services falls under community engagement and resources. Access on Demand, which is a schedule and pickup service, provides residents with an easy pickup. This program is popular and is widely used throughout the county to a target population of residents. Access on Demand, as you all know, in order to enroll in the qualifications for the program, is you must live in Chesterfield County. You must live in Chesterfield County, but there are 3 pockets in order to be able to be eligible for the program. The first pocket is age 60 or over. You can have a disability, whether it's short-term or long-term, and then low income. And in the validation for the program, you have to provide documentation in order to be qualified for the program. So you're enrolling with our office, and then we have 3 vendors that are used for the transportation services. The service area which we are covering, which is great for our community and our residents, because if you look at the green area, that's any trip for any reason from one part of the county, from the Matoka district down to the Bermuda district. If you can just see the coverage that we have, and that's any personal trip, any medical trip, or any personal medical employment anywhere in the county. And then outside of the county, we allow trips that are work and medical only. If you could see Richmond, Henrico, Hanover, some parts of Hopewell and Colonial Heights. So we're fortunate to have a program that we take good care of our residents, and they can move anywhere in the county that they want to within those means, and then still be able to go to work and to their medical appointments. To tell you a little bit about the history of Access on Demand, our leaders back in the early 2000s thought they identified there was a need. There was a need to provide transportation services to our residents. And grateful enough, we're 20 years later, but that need still exists today. In 2004, Access Chesterfield was launched. It was a curb-to-curb shared ride service. Passengers purchased vouchers. The vouchers were purchased either in Citizen Information and Resources, which is now Community Engagement and Resources, the Treasurer's Office, and any of the county libraries. And our residents had to buy a book of tickets, which was $36, or they bought individual tickets. We provided both ambulatory and non-ambulatory trips with one cost. In 2018, Citizens Information and Resources, now Community Engagement and Resources, provided a service where we took over Access Chesterfield to now it's from mental health to our new department. And at that time, it was two full-time employees. Thanks to Dr. Casey for creating our department. In 2019, we transitioned to Access on Demand, and Access on Demand is a different service in a sense of Access Chesterfield was more of a ride share program, and Access on Demand is you schedule and you pick up. So after COVID, ridership with Access Chesterfield was reduced, but really low, and so Access on Demand has picked up, and we were able to actually have 3 full-time employees with the program. In 22, I would say kudos to our colleagues in Information Systems Technology. They helped us develop a tool to support the program. Power BI was created that we can create reports, track the use, pull any type of data that we want. It's just at a fingertip. And that has made life so much easier for not only our staff in CER, but also our budget partners and anyone else within our certain departments that we're working with to pull information about the program. We also created in 22 the online registration and an interactive map, which help residents to navigate where they want to go and to determine where they can go in the county and outside the county. That online registration is a very different tool than before, because the tool before you had to come and get your vouchers. This online registration, you can email or call us or fax in your registration. We get you enrolled, but you're paying the vendor on site with a credit card. This service that we have, is very unique. In fact, it's so unique that our partners in Hanover has created a program just like ours. A little bit different requirements, but our programs are similar, and they used us as a marketing tool to be able to create their program. The tailored service that we provide, it ensures access to transportation for riders with special mobility needs, whether it's wheelchair or if you have some other device that you need assistance with getting transportation. Out of our 3 vendors, someone can support you by providing that service with the correct vehicle. Drivers are trained in ADA disability sensitivity and HIPAA compliance. That's very important, because our residents care about who's transporting them and making sure that they can really adjust and be sensitive to the needs they have as they're transporting to, whether it's a personal visit, a medical, or employment. And lastly, this program is, as we value it, is because it's safe, it's reliable, it's door-to-door, and it's an affordable transportation service. This is just an excerpt from our Power BI, and it shows you from the last 3 years the information that can be compiled. And fortunate enough, we are able to determine, just at a drop of a button, how many riders we had and how many trips we had. If you can see, the last 3 years, we've had 2,636 riders, active members, and over almost 400 paid trips. And if you look at the cost per mile, the average mile is 11.6 miles that the average rider is taking. And the cost per trip is approximately $31, $32 a ride. The program status. In FY 2025, we provided 150,000 paid trips. Passengers, 47% seniors, 41% disabled, and 12% low income. Their trip purpose, 69% of that was employment. 15% of that was medical. Trip destinations, 65% of the trips were within Chesterfield County, and 35% were in transporting to or from the county. As we know that our program is valued by our residents, is valued by our leaders. You all have met with us individually. My colleague, Matt Harris, and his team, budget team, have been very supportive and assisting us in navigating the demands of the program. While we may not go out and truly advertise outside of participating in vendor events, if someone calls and asks and wants support, we know that this program is important to you all, it's important to our community, and sustainability is important as well. So as we've talked through several meetings for the last year or so on how can we sustain this program, we know it's in our heart to make sure that our residents get to and from, whether it's personal, whether it's medical, or whether it's employment. And so we currently have 3 transportation vendors that we've been working with for the last year. That's Lodges, Ride Round Trip, and UServe. They're providing door-to-door ambulatory wheelchair service. The ridership, because our ridership has drastically increased, we have to think about what it looks like moving forward in the future. How do we sustain it? Sustainability is our key, although we're embracing that there is a strong need. And so our cost per ride has been $6 for a number of years. And we've been good to our community with providing the $6 ride. You all have, and there has not been any change. We're fortunate enough that we have been able to receive 2 grants from the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation. One is for $500,000, and that's for wheelchair rides. And the other is for one position, program coordinator position of $80,000 in our department. Our department really finds that many of our residents often share how loyal they are, because we've had a number of residents for a number of years riding, and just the riders really care about the program, and they're very appreciative of the county being supportive and allowing us to have a service of this magnitude. We've met with you all, the leaders, our leaders, but we've also met with the Citizen and Budget Advisory Council Committee with Matt Harris and his staff. And part of that discussion we've had, come up with some recommendations. And in those recommendations, we wanted to, and with your input, because we've incorporated your all's input as well into these recommendations, is have a disability, keep the disability because we have to have that, one of our pots. But that's no change. Meet income-based eligibility requirement is no change. And then one of the changes would be a qualifying component would be with age. You have to qualify, even you may be 60 years old, but there's a qualifying component to the age to make you eligible for the program. The recommendation is to increase the cost from what we currently have now, $6 to $10, one-way trip within the county, and $15 one-way trip outside of the county. We also discussed it would be advantageous to us to review the program and its fees and costs every 2 years to see if there needs to be an inflation adjustment at any point. So this will help us stay aligned with the costs that the program has been for the last several years. This year, about end of fiscal year, we're projecting it to be about $6 million. Last year, it closed the fiscal year with about a little bit over $5 million. And the last option that we that was shared is trying to look back and do some research on the ride-sharing option. Could we incorporate that at some point moving in the future? As part of these recommendations, it is our next steps to this would be we're collaborating with constituent and media services on a campaign of sharing the information about the program changes with the community. In addition to that, we will have a community meeting to also present the changes of this program with them as well. And then these changes would be effective January 2026. And I say this, while we're faced with sustainability. We had a program that the county offered, Staying Strong, last week, and some of the riders came up to the vendor table and said to other people, "This is the greatest service in the county. If you don't know anything about it and you need help to get around to your medical appointments, come talk to these people here. This service changed their lives and has given them back their freedom." It's a reliable and affordable service. So residents, by word of mouth, share. I think Frank maybe shared with me one day last week a call. One day we had 8 calls. Now, not because we're out on billboards or anything like that. It's just word of mouth with the program. So we're fortunate to have leaders that support this program, like you all, that will continue to be able to meet the needs of our community by providing this service. We're fortunate enough to work with our CDOT partners with GRTC and the micro transit program. So based on just the discussion that we've had, the conversations that I've had with the GRC partners and CDOT, Barb will share more with you all after my presentation about the micro transit and where we stand with that. This concludes our presentation on mobility services. Not Barb. Barb is Barb is next. Any questions, or you wanna?
No? Okay. Can we advance the slide? Thank you. Oh, I could advance the slide. Sorry about that. So I'm Barb Smith. I'm from the Transportation Department and here to give an update on microtransit in the county. So I'll get started and focus in on GRTC's Link Microtransit and explain what that is. So it's an on-demand curb-to-curb service. It's offered to any resident, and they can book rides using the GRTC On-the-Go app or calling GRTC. The service goal that GRTC has for responding to requests is 20 minutes, and so far they're meeting that goal. Microtransit operates within zones, and GRTC currently has 6 zones in the region. And riders are picked up and dropped off within that zone boundary. But some of the zones connect to fixed route bus service, which expands their options outside of that zone into the greater GRTC bus system. The vehicles are ADA accessible, and the technology that's used for microtransit allows for ride grouping during high demand to make it more efficient. So our zone is called Cloverdale, the Cloverdale link, and this is a pilot. The pilot started in March 2024, and the grant goes through March 2027. GRTC was able to secure demonstration funds from the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation for the pilot project. That grant ramps down over the 3-year period, requiring more and more local match, which right now is being provided by GRTC. There's a tentative expansion to expand the pilot for another 2 years. Our zone extends from east of the Chippenham 360 interchange and runs along 360 all the way west to the Clover Hill Library. Let's see, ridership. So you can see ridership's been slowly inching up. We had a month, July, that we were close to 900 rides a month. And, we're always looking to figure out ways to get more and more people aware of the service and riding. So as the pilot's gone on, we've had some zone expansions. And right now, GRTC is evaluating more residential coverage. Yeah, and connecting up to Stonebridge, which would tie in another bus route. So right now, the zone touches a bus stop that's near that Haynes on the east side of the interchange at Chippenham. It also connects the 82 Express at Commonwealth Center. And if we do this expansion, it would cover Stonebridge. We've also done marketing along the ways. Of course, with the launch, there was a marketing effort. We did another marketing effort in the fall of 2024. And right now, we're developing 2 more marketing pushes. So the benefits of microtransit. Fixed route bus service operates best on grid roadways where there's a nice concentration of population and employment, and that's where fixed route bus service can really provide the most coverage and frequency for riders. The benefit of microtransit, because it can deviate and it only makes a trip when someone requests a ride, you're providing more coverage and more frequency for the riders. The curb-to-curb service means riders don't have to walk far to get to the vehicle or to their destination. And in Chesterfield, where we don't have a whole lot of sidewalks, that is a big benefit. And then the higher frequency, because riders, the trips only are initiated when a ride is requested. It provides efficient, reliable response to riders that they can count on getting a ride within 20 minutes. So with the link, we've got more flexibility. Like I talked about, it connects to fixed bus routes. And the zones are very adjustable, and the hours are adjustable, so we've made changes along the way with the pilot that way. Another great benefit is that there's no CDL required for the drivers. We all remember the problem we had with CDL drivers, so that's really good for a workforce. Challenges, though, it is zone-based, so your trips originate and end within a defined zone. And because it's new, we're still learning a lot. And that's why we have gotten study money from Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation to do a countywide microtransit study. So with that, we'll be looking at cost. How much do additional zones cost? How does microtransit compare to fixed route bus service, which is more cost efficient? We'll also be looking at how it integrates with fixed routes and how it would integrate with Access Chesterfield. Can we take some demand off of Access so that they can focus on the more critical trips? We'll also be looking at zone design. Where do microtransit zones make sense in the county? You may have heard Powhatan started with a very defined zone, but now is expanded to countywide. Does that make sense in Chesterfield? Or does it make sense to have zones that connect and people can kind of hop from zone to zone to get more places? So we'll start that this month and should have that study wrapped up in a year. And we'll be working closely with Kim. Do you have any questions?
Go ahead, Mr.
So Kim, when people call for the access on demand, if they live within the Cloverdale, do we give them that information if it's something that they would be able to use for their, I'm just asking if you guys are sharing that information with them, if that's,
So staff, when people call and they're in the area, they often will say, we have Cloverdale, the microtransit, it's free, you can do this thing now. So yes, they answer your questions, yes, they do.
Go ahead.
sorry. I know I had talked at our TPO meeting about, is it possible to look at, because I think that some of the reason why we haven't gotten as much pickup on ridership is because we don't have as many residential places within Cloverdale area. And so if we could expand a little out into the residential areas that would utilize that the most, we might get better ridership, because right now there's a lot of businesses along there, but not a lot of people to utilize those businesses on there. So thank you so much for that.
GRTC did a really great job of jumping on that as soon as they heard you mention it, so, yep.
All right. Thank you both.
One last thing I will share. Mr. Holland he was very supportive of micro transit as well as our mobility services program, Access on Demand. I will say he signed up during his journey of going through the process of being sick. He signed up for mobility services just in case he may need the service. He was already signed up and can just make the phone call. So we know we'll miss him and we'll miss his champion and leadership in supporting this program as well. But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.